Yesterday, we got the announcement that Yellowjackets Season 4 is not only greenlit, but it'll be the last season of the series, and will be premiering sometime late 2026. The news is bittersweet for sure, but if we look at this objectively, this is probably the best case scenario to end sooner rather than later. First off, it's difficult for most shows to survive past 4 seasons unless you're a police procedural. But Season 3 also demonstrated the writer's room is struggling, and it's probably time to quit while we're ahead. Sure, the show was reviewed well, with the finale getting over 3 million views, the highest in the show's history, but that didn't stop the whispers that the season was a huge letdown over its predecessors. But why is this? How did it go from one of the hottest shows on Showtime to an absolute mess? Well, I think I have some reasons, so grab a slice of human jerky and let's get to it. First is the loss of plot. And what I mean by this is that the show has failed to deliver on the promises made back in Season 1, and even the first few minutes of the first episode. Everything from the imagery to the camera work to the music promised an absolute horror show that documented the descent into madness of a group of girls that went from the best of friends to hunting and cannibalizing each other for survival. All this leads to their adulthood as they struggle to keep anyone from ever finding out the truth and doing anything to keep it hidden. All leading up to the long-awaited reveal of Pit Girl, only for the identity and the circumstances leading up to it, leaving a bad taste in the mouths of fans.
Prepare her for tonight, and when it's done, bring me her hair.
The next is the adult timeline. Now this might be a personal nitpick of mine, but I was never a fan of the adult timeline. Granted, the actresses all do a phenomenal job, specifically Christina Ricci as an adult Misty, who steals every scene she's in, but I've seen too many shows travel down this same road, fall into the same traps. About 25 years have passed since they crashed in the wilderness and the present day, so the writers can literally just throw anything they want into that gap. This being the case, they will likely throw off the narrative and make things way too convoluted. The biggest hurdle, of course, is making sure the character choices made in the past make sense in the present. Like, for example, I don't understand why anyone would ever be in the same state as Shauna Shipman, much less talk to her on a seemingly regular basis. This also includes introducing characters and plot lines late in the show, when, given the situation, we should know who everyone is by Season 3. This leads me to the characters, and how they seem completely different than who we started with. Shauna Shipman, for example, goes from a mousy, emotionally stunted, and passive-aggressive girl to a power-hungry psychopath terrorizing her teammates. Taissa spent Season 1 trying to keep her fractured family together amidst the chaos erupting in her mind, to basically forgetting she has a family at all and starts carting Van around like a piece of luggage. And this not counting the character deaths that made no sense but for the sake of shock value. Hell, even the actresses weren't happy with how their characters were treated. Lauren Ambrose, who played adult Van, stated, "I assumed it would be the cancer that did her in. This ultimate survivor who is unable to survive this real human thing." Then it wasn't that. And reading it was really shocking. All of a sudden, Hilary Swank is murdering me. She goes on to ask the writers, please make it earned and worthy of this character. When I read it, it didn't feel earned. Quite honestly, I didn't understand it. Simone Kessel, who played adult Lottie, also said, "I was excited that Season 3 would take Lottie somewhere interesting. And unfortunately, they just decided that storyline was no longer." Tawny Cypress and Juliette Lewis also expressed frustrations with how their characters were handled. Granted, Juliette was aware that she was only going to have a limited run on the show, but she still felt unsatisfied with how it ended. Don't get me wrong, each woman shows up and puts in the work with what's given, but you can tell from the actresses, especially Tawny Cypress, that her heart just isn't in it that much. That being said, it's not impossible to bring the show back from the brink. With one more season left, it can easily wrap up all the storylines and plot points introduced. The writer's room just needs to hunker down and be sure to give these characters the stories and send-off they deserve. And I'll be here to cover all of it.